Willis, you got such a great memory. That's about the kindest introduction I've ever heard in my life, and you read it just as I wrote it, so I appreciate that. So, my brothers, I just want to start off with one question. Is Sigma Chi the greatest fraternity or what? I love that part. I just have to do that. You know, it's great to see all my undergraduate brothers, you know, here at workshop, because it just seems like yesterday I was sitting right where you guys are. And I can tell you it was a life-changing event, as I know it was for Wills. So hold on to your hats. This is going to be a great week. And be ready to learn, transform, and be challenged to do your best. You know, as an undergraduate, I learned many lessons from Sigma Chi. The most significant one, though, can be distilled down to two words, and that is transformation and trust. And of course, being an engineer, I just had to turn it into an equation. Transformation to the power of trust, or simply T squared. Today, I reverently call that the Sigma Chi equation. At Purdue, we learned any mathematical equation can be shown true by using a proof. So I'd like to share with you my proof of this Sigma Chi equation. And it started off not too small from here in small town Ohio, Rocky River, Ohio, where my father ran a machine shop and my mother was a teacher. At age 12, I became a welder in my dad's shop. In good times, he employed 5 workers. In tough times, it was only him and me. My father encouraged me to get some college knowledge and come back as an engineer to help him grow the business to a big company, 10 employees. While I did become an engineer, I never went back to work with my dad, but he was immensely proud that I was a Sigma Chi. You know, he sensed the brotherhood, even if he didn't fully understand it. And he was the inspiration for when I was Grand Counsel. We created the Non-Student Initiative program. You know, he also loved the fact that I was a Boilermaker, because that was the name of his favorite after-work adult beverage. So here's to you, Pops. However, my dad never knew how terrified I was about not making it as an engineer. You know, especially on that first day of school, when good old Professor Barony meandered up in front of the class and uttered, "This is engineering 100. Now look to your left, look to your right. One of the 3 of you won't be here." Well, he seemed to be looking right at me. And anybody who doesn't think fear is a motivator hasn't taken Engineering 100 from this guy, Barony. Now, I was undeniably outgunned because I never took any of those fancy high school honors classes. I knew my competitors on my left and right did, because they told me. Now, I was thinking, oh boy, I just jumped in water over my head, and I better learn how to swim fast. It took all the courage I could muster to challenge my status quo. But it was a great lesson in transformation and trusting in myself. But I can tell you it was Sigma Chi that gave me countless opportunities to expand my comfort zone and take risks. And I have Sigma Chi to thank for that little voice in my head that tells me to go for it. And I've been doing it nonstop my whole life. My transformational journey has been at high velocity and diverse adventures every few years. Living on the edge has brought plenty of adversity and valuable lessons from failures. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you learn the most from your failures. Each new chapter builds on the last and involves the risk of jumping in water over your head. You know, the adrenaline rush becomes so addicting. I can't imagine my life without it. I call it scary fun. And, you know, if there's anything I learned, that the biggest risk of all is to stop taking risks at all. And, you know, it's true in the business world, too. At DocuSign, we prided ourselves on being a major catalyst in a company's digital transformation. I'd often say at our customer user conferences, transformation is the most powerful word in any language, because without it, we don't develop, prosper, or grow. If your company isn't transforming, it's dying. And the best way to control the future is to invent it. My life's work has been focused on creating innovative companies by building high-performance teams that challenge the status quo, and then empowering them to pursue opportunities they never imagined possible. I believe the company with the best people wins, and that diversity of thought is the catalyst for genius, and the results can be magical. You know, I'm sometimes asked, Krach, where did you learn your transformational leadership skills? Was it at HBS? Was it when you were VP at General Motors? Well, I just smile and say, I learned it at Sigma Chi, and I love to watch their reaction. Now, Sigma Chi has had a great tradition of graduating transformational leaders of tomorrow. And my brothers, the world needs more trusted transformational leaders. And so that brings me to the second component in our T-squared equation, trust. And if transformation is the most powerful word in any language, then trust is the most important. And when you take transformation to the power of trust, that's when the magic of the T-squared equation happens. So continuing the proof of the equation, you know, I was really proud a few years ago when the press wrote all 4 of Krach's companies are considered disruptors and transformed industries and became the clear market leader through category creation. Basically, that means we earned a lot of money for our shareholders. And change is never easy. When you set out to achieve a transformational change, trust always seems to be the essential element. Now, whether that was in the 1980s, growing GMF to the largest robotics company in the world, still to this day, or whether it was in the 90s with this company, RASNA, which we had breakthrough mechanical engineering, changed the way engineering was done. Or 20 years ago, when we invented B2B e-commerce with Ariba, that now conducts 3.7 trillion transactions per year, more than Amazon, eBay, and Alibaba combined. So I've certainly learned that whenever you're starting companies from scratch, people have to trust you, they have to trust your product, they have to trust your processes, they have to trust your company. You know, another proof is changing the way people sign. For 10 years, I would tell our DocuSign employees, we're not in the software business, we're in the trust business. We deal with people's most important documents. Those are the ones that you sign. And trust is the basis of every relationship, business, personal, or otherwise. You partner with people you trust, you do business with people you trust, you buy from people you trust, you love people you trust. And today, the DocuSign Global Trust Network has 1 billion users and 1 million companies, and the name of the company has become a verb. Why? Because of trust. My brothers, the success of these companies were built on the Sigma Chi playbook, rooted in this T-squared equation. This playbook has guided me not only in business, but in every aspect of my life. Now, my mother taught me that a meaningful career is about giving back and paying it forward. So after achieving some initial success, I set out to give back to the 3 organizations that shaped me the most: my school, my fraternity, and my country. So, as Will said, I had the honor of serving as Purdue's chairman of the board of trustees, and we applied these same principles in numerous groundbreaking initiatives. And that includes freezing tuition for the last 10 years and counting. No university's been able to pull that off. As Grand Council, I used the Sigma Chi playbook to develop the fraternity's first strategic plan, right? We remember that, with a dream team of Sigma Chi's greatest transformational leaders. And we rolled it out in the 2005 Grand Chapter at the 150th, with the vision of being the preeminent collegiate leadership development organization. And this has included 7 strategic imperatives that birthed our transformational leadership philosophy in programs like Mission 365, Horizons, KTLW, and the Moonshot, resulting in trailblazing accreditation. Brother Greenberg. That was incredible. You know, I also had the opportunity to apply the Sigma Chi principles to global economic security. And I can tell you, this Ohio boy, whose journey began welding parts, and later had the good fortune of welding together billion-dollar companies, but even this dreamer could never have imagined being called upon to run United States economic diplomacy and having the honor to give back and the opportunity to this great nation, which has given so much to him and his family. So after having that rare distinction of being unanimously confirmed by the Senate as Undersecretary of State, my charge was to develop and execute a global economic security strategy that drives economic growth, maximizes national security, and combats authoritarian aggression. Now, I can tell you one thing, as a lifelong businessman, it was no small risk on my part to leave my world in Silicon Valley to serve in government. It was jumping into some deep water. But it turned out to be the most rewarding risk I've taken so far. I was advised that if I wanted a friend in Washington, I should get a dog. We already had one. So instead, I brought in a trusted team of battle-tested tech transformational leaders, including a bevy of Sigma Chi's. Now, as Will said, one of our urgent missions was to defeat the Chinese Communist Party's plan to control global 5G communications. Their momentum at the time seemed unstoppable, and failure appeared to be inevitable. I can tell you, if such a regime controlled 5G, they could access all personal data, manipulate everything from our utility grids to autonomous vehicles, and even your social media platforms. At that time, all previous U.S. efforts to stop them had failed. Both sides of the aisle were hitting the panic button. But our aha moment was when I asked my foreign counterparts, economic ministers, finance ministers, foreign ministers, how is your relationship with China? And they always seem to say the same thing. Well, they're an important trading partner. But then it seemed like every time they looked like both directions, like somebody was walking, and they go, but we don't trust them. And that's when we made trust the core of our strategy. And that's when we created the Trust Doctrine. And in less than a year, we built that clean network alliance of democracies, comprised of countries and companies representing 2/3 of the world's global GDP. And it operated by a thing that we call the trust principles. Things like integrity, transparency, reciprocity, respect for human rights, respect for rule of law, respect for property, respect for national sovereignty, and respect for the environment. All these things together equal trust. And these are the things that we honor in the free world, and authoritarian regimes do not. As a matter of fact, they actually use them for their strategic advantage. So what we did, in one jujitsu move, we weaponized the very principles that protect our freedom and used it against them. Now, by the end of my term at the State Department, we defeated the Chinese Communist Party's master plan to control 5G. And in the process, we exposed their biggest weakness: nobody trusts them. So by leading this only government initiative that successfully defeated China, Inc., we developed a new form of transformational diplomacy based on trust by integrating Silicon Valley strategies with traditional foreign policy tools. Now it's known as tech statecraft. This nonpartisan model ensured unity and continuity between Democratic and Republican administrations. And this is vital to our allies. And nothing scares the shit out of General Secretary Xi than a United States, I can tell you that. So as Will said, as a result of these national security initiatives, I was declared an enemy of the state by China. My entire family was sanctioned. And it's not for what I said. It was for the results we achieved. So this small town Ohio boy, blessed with the American dream, who had the good fortune of being a Sigma Chi, will not bend a knee to Emperor Xi. And as Will said, a year later, I had the honor of being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for the Trust Doctrine. So, what does transformation to the power of trust, or T squared, equal? Well, here's what it equals. It equals all things are possible, or infinity to the infinity power, which good old Professor Bernie said is the biggest number in the world. So let us give the world our best and not forget the insightful truth articulated by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I love this. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. So I'm going to leave you with this one last final thought. Transformational leadership is not about being invincible. It's about being vulnerable, compassionate, and resilient. It's about standing tall in the face of adversity and inspiring others to do the same. It's about building trust, maintaining faith, and upholding the values that define us, even when the world around us seems like it's falling apart. I can tell you throughout my entire life, through the ups, downs, the challenges, the triumphs, and the tragedies, it has been the relationships and the lessons learned as a Sigma Chi that have guided me. And alongside my unwavering faith in God, these bonds have been my anchor. My brothers, I urge each and every one of you to cherish and invest wholeheartedly in this wondrous Sigma Chi experience. Make it a lifelong passion, for it will surely see you through the darkest of times and elevate you to the greatest heights. Godspeed, my brothers. I love you.